Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So with this we have come to the last part of this chapter. This is the last shloka of the description by Lord Kapila to his mother Devabhuti. It is subject matter of a living entity gliding down to hellish regions, to various kinds of abominable species, lower species, as a result of his adverse fruitive activities. So adverse fruitive activities referring to activities which a man performs for his own sense gratification. He comes to this material world, performs various activities with an expectation to satisfy his senses in varieties of ways. And the epitome of all kinds of enjoyment he considers to be the enjoyment in household life. An attached householder, completely forgetful of his spiritual existence, his real duties connected with the Supreme Lord, he starts thinking he, his family, his property, and things related to these things are all belonging to him, are meant for his enjoyment. And this is the purpose of human form of life, and he continues to live in this way. Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. So what will be his mentality and what is the result he will have to face in his future? These were the subject matter of this chapter, what we heard till now. So in the last verse here, Kapila Muni is telling, Adhastan naralokasya. Adhastan means from lowest. Adhastan, gradually, like naralokasya, a human form. Yavatir yatanadayaha. After going through different kinds of yatanas, suffering conditions, it may be in hellish regions and whatever varieties of ways. Kramashaha samanukramya. Kramashaha meaning there is a krama, there is a order, there is one order from the lowest species, how he gradually elevates himself through all the varieties of 8.4 million species. So he comes through that order, kramashaha samanukramya. He undergoes all the different krama and passes through that. Punar atra vrajet shuchihi. Oh, is it that after samanukramya, going through all that regular order, finally everything is done, over? No. Punaha atra avrajet shuchihi. Again, he comes back to this earthly planet taking a human human form of body. Till whatever we have heard till now, and through our own personal experiences, we have seen how this human form of life, is it happy? Is it what we say? Will any sane man, or at least a person who has understood the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, will he desire, aspire to, yes, finally have reached this goal, human form of life, things are over? Is it that way? No, not at all. We know how, even in human form of life, there is birth, death, old age, disease, different kinds of painful conditions from our own internal mind-body system, from other living entities, from supernatural forces. So, this is not the ultimate goal. Again, he'll take this human form of life, and how he'll take, that we'll be seeing in the next chapter. So, Punar Atra Avrajet Shuchihi. He has become Shuchi. What is the Shuchi which is being referred to here? Prabhupada in the purport, he says, there is a person who has committed some criminal activity. So he is being prosecuted, sent to prison house for suffer, and some term is given of whatever kind, different kinds of punishments what he is supposed to undergo there. Maybe 5-year term, or maybe some 10 years or 14 years. So likewise, he is put there, and after that duration of the punishment what he was supposed to undergo, he is made to go through all of those, and now his term is over. What next? He'll be released out of the jail. He comes out of the prison house. So likewise, here in this analogy, so a sinful man, he is sent to some hellish regions, and he takes birth in some abominable lower species. Step by step, on a regular order, samanukramya, he passes through different varieties of species like cats and dogs and hogs and all of those things. And when all of his past sinful deeds, everything is the punishment he has undergone, and finally he is awarded this human form of life. So this is one thing what we see in this part. In another part of the Bhagavad Gita, we hear how of a pious man performing all kinds of pious activities. He goes upwards. Again, there also maybe like Samanukramya, different regions of heavenly planets, upper planetary systems are there, wherein it's all filled with different kinds of objects for sense gratification, gross and subtle. And after going there, leads a very happy life or whatever, and then finally, so-called happiness, happy life, and finally, Kshine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. After all his punya, everything is finished, he comes back to this earthly planet again and takes a human body. So this human body, whether you go downwards or upwards, anywhere, so here, sufficient freedom, independence, ability to make choice is given. On the contrary, when we say especially lower species, what is spoken here in the purport of dogs, hogs, cats and all, this independence, ability to make choice is not there. Helplessly, however they are conditioned instinctively they act. The kind of whatever, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maituna, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, certain abilities are given, certain sense objects are kept for them, and helplessly they act. But in human form of life, as a higher intelligence is given, the ability to discriminate is given, so he can choose. So now two options we saw. One, as described in this chapter, an attached householder, how he goes downwards and suffers varieties of ways, and gradually again, samanukramya, gradually he comes upwards, and finally he gets the human form of life. The second option was, he performs some punya, pious activities, goes to some heavenly planets and enjoys for some time, and when his punya, pious activity things are over, pious credit, it's all exhausted, again he comes back to this earthly planet. But there is a third option for a human being. If at all a person decides not to enter hellish regions, not to, in future, I don't wish to undergo or go through the hellish sufferings, what he can do? He should take up to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada writes here, it can be concluded that if someone is not willing to enter into hellish life, as in Tamisra or Andhatamisra, then he must take to the process of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, such hellish sufferings a man is to undergo. Because nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya aprunoti. If he is not aware of the knowledge of his real existence as spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his eternal occupation to be happily being engaged in the service of the Lord, if he doesn't have this knowledge, what he'll do? Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma. Foolishly, he engages in activities which are forbidden. Yad indriya pritaya aprunoti. For his sense gratification, varieties of sinful activities he performs, and he has to suffer the result of such sinful activities. So here, another portion of the purport, Srila Prabhupada, in detail he writes how in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks of the process of yoga. A person who has taken to it, even if he is unable to successfully complete it, still there is no loss. So here there is an encouragement for everyone, somehow or the other, in whatever way possible, we need to take up to devotional life. Otherwise, it's very risky. So the portion from the Bhagavad Gita is that from the 6th chapter. So let us discuss, go through that portion, wherein in sequence, like say Krishna, there is a question of Arjuna, wherein Arjuna asks, Ayatihi shraddhayopeto yoga chalita manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Ayatihi, shraddhayopeto, a person with all faith, he has taken up to some process of yoga. Yoga process means linking with the Supreme Lord. There were varieties of processes, different persons, they take up to different processes, and some people they'll take directly to Bhakti Yoga process, whatever it may be. Ayatihi shraddhayopeto. With faith, a person has taken to this process. But chalitamanasaha, somehow he has become disturbed in mind. His focus has become deviated. Aprapya yoga samsiddhim. Then if he has become deviated from the process, then what will happen? Aprapya yoga samsiddhi, the perfectional stage of yoga, he will not be able to achieve. Kam gatim Krishna gacchati. What will be his gati, or what will be his end? Is it that, next verse Arjuna says, Kachin no bhaya vibrashtas chinna bhram ivanashyati. Is it that, like, na ubhaya vibrashtaha, in material life also he did not enjoy nicely, because he took up the yoga process, he did not enjoy his senses nicely in household or family life or whatever it may be, and he has taken up the spiritual life, he did not attain perfection. Is it that chinna abhram ivanashyati, a cloud which has deviated or become aloof from the big cloud due to wind, it is just like scattered in the sky with no whatever destination or resting place or whatever. So likewise, apratishto mahabaho vimudha brahmana pati. So the person who has taken to this process, brahmana pati, will his destination, will it be like a riven cloud with no position here or there? Etanme samshayam Krishna chetum arhasi asheshataha tvadanyaha samshayasya asya chetanahi upapadyate. My dear Lord Krishna, apart from you, no one else can remove my doubts. So this is the question which Arjuna asks. So in reply to this question by Arjuna, Krishna says, Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati. My dear Arjuna, that person, I'll read the translation of this. A transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. He will not be overcome by evil. Any person who has taken up to this process. Okay, now specifically that person who has endeavored, who had made a right choice in his life, and with Shraddha, with faith, he has come, and eventually he has fallen down. So specifically what will happen? Krishna says, Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samah Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Abhijayate. So, this unsuccessful yogi, he Prapya Punya Kritam Lokan, he will go to upper planetary systems wherein, like say, pious people where they live, and after years of enjoyment in such planets, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. And on the contrary, we saw how, like in today's verse, Adhastan Naralokasya Yavatir Yatanadayaha. After whatever, going into hellish planets, suffering in varieties of ways sufficiently there, Kramashaha Samanukramya, gradually he will be elevated to this human form of life. So the opposite of that, here Krishna says, if you like say, any person who has taken up to this process of yoga, even if he is unsuccessful also, prapya punya kritan lokan, he goes to higher regions, and then after coming back, shuchinam shrimatam gehe, he takes birth in shuchinam, some pious family, and shrimatam, rich aristocracy. Specifically in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada says how rich family refers to big mercantile family, because generally people who engage in trades and mercantile business are very rich. So in such a family he will be born. So now in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada writes how there are two categories. One category of a person, like first category is that person who has made little progress in in the practice of his spiritual life, in the yoga process he has taken up, and he falls down. Another category, he has proceeded to a very great distance, and for a prolonged time he has practiced, and then he has fallen down. So what will happen to him? So these two differences are there. So next verse Krishna says, Athava yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam etadhi durlabhataram loke janmaya didrisham. So that person who has practiced for a prolonged time, so he will be specifically born in the family of transcendentalists. I'll read the translation. Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. So after prolonged practice, he eventually falls down, then he'll be given opportunity to take birth in the family of great transcendentalists. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of his own spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he himself. Both of them had the opportunity of being born in a great family. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born in the family. His father was Bhakti Vinod Thakur, an exalted Vaishnava, great devotee. And even Srila Prabhupada, he says how his father was also a pure devotee. So in such a great devotee family, transcendentalists family, they'll be born. Then Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandana. So, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. So whatever in his previous life he had he had proceeded, but somewhere it was stopped. So he'll continue from there, makes further progress in order to achieve complete success. The example given is that of Maharaja Bharata. So in his previous life, to some extent he had done, but eventually because of attachment to a deer, he fell, and later an opportunity was given from where he continued to become successful. And then finally, Purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate hi avashopi saha jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even seeking them. such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So, such a yogi who has taken up to some form of spiritual life, trying to connect with the Supreme Lord, there is no loss in this direction at all. Even if he is unsuccessful, so we are seeing how his life is glorious. In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada explains how the life of Haridas Thakur, who was born in a so-called Mohammedan, whatever low family, but by his practice, his attachment towards chanting, how exalted he was. So likewise, here that's the encouragement given. So Prabhupada finally says in the purport, Krishna consciousness is the purest life, and it protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs or hogs. So any person who has taken to Krishna consciousness, if his his endeavor is successful, he goes back to Godhead. Even if it is not, there is no loss. He will never glide down to hellish conditions or to take birth in family of dogs or hogs. He will be given an opportunity by giving a human form of life and in being born in some pious family, some mercantile family, wherein opportunity is there, facility is there for him to continue from where he had stopped. So this is the glory of practice of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the purest life. So this is what this last one point. Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is the purest life and it protects all human beings from gliding down. See how? Purest life. So this we need to be clear. It is only through Krishna consciousness we can become completely pure. So-called pure life or pious life of this material world is actually not completely pure. There will be mixture of Rajoguna, Tamoguna, some kind of sense, sense gratification, some personal agenda will be there. But a person who is completely Krishna conscious, only his life is 100% pure. The example Srila Prabhupada gives is how there is a group of thieves and they go they do some stealing, take the share and sit together. Let us divide equally. Let us divide amongst ourselves without cheating, very righteously. What is the meaning of their righteousness? What is the meaning of their so-called equal distribution or whatever? It is stolen property. If they don't recognize the owner, if they don't use the property or whatever is there in their hands, in consultation or with the permission of knowing whom it belongs to, then whatever so-called piety, so-called righteousness, religiousness of the material world, it is not pure. It is only a Krishna conscious person who is fully aware that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. We are all his part and parcels. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrita kasya svidhanam. He knows everything belongs to the Supreme Lord, and whatever my allocated quota the Supreme Lord has given me, let me use it. And whatever available, everything has to be dovetailed towards the service of the Supreme Lord. This life is the purest of lives. So with this we'll conclude Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.